A very good morning. Just past 10 by the clock. We're back again with another edition of News on the Hour. This is your one-stop show for all that matters from the field of politics, business, sports and entertainment. We get you news from the length and breadth of the country as we cut the noise and bring you news straight from ground zero. I'm Anil Thomas. Let's get started with the top headlines. As the nation celebrates 75th year of independence tomorrow, a string of activities celebrating the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav planned across the nation. Government unveils the official logo. President Ramnath Kovind to address the nation this evening. Pedal for Health campaign launched as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in Delhi. Union Ministers Anurag Thakur, Mansukh Mandavia and Kiran Rijiju ride bicycles from Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium to Akbar Road. Campaign to help promote cycling in the country and keep India healthy and fit. Celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav under the spirit of Jan Bhagidari, DD and All India Radio to broadcast a special full-day coverage on Independence Day, also to feature 3-day film festival showcasing the best of Indian patriotic films. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage achieves 53 crore 61 lakh landmark milestone. First COVID-19 nasal vaccine developed by Bharat Biotech gets regulators nod to hold phase 2 clinical trials. Four more sites of India added to Ramsar list of to the Ramsar list as wetlands of international importance. These sites are Tol and Vadbana from Gujarat and Sultanpur and Bhindawans from Haryana. Situation in Afghanistan worsening after Taliban take control of Kandahar. Assault expected on Kabul, says reports. Canada plans to resettle 20,000 vulnerable Afghans such as women leaders, human rights workers. UK fears militant groups would thrive in such a scenario. And in sports, Lord's Test hanging in balance at the end of day 2. England lose 3 wickets for 119 runs at stumps after India finished their first innings with 364 runs on board. Well, now for the stories in detail, starting first up with President Ramnath Kovind addressing the nation later this evening on the eve of 75th Independence Day. The address will be broadcast from 1900 hours on the entire national network of All India Radio and telecast over all channels of Doordarshan in Hindi, followed by the English version. Broadcast of the address in English and Hindi on Doordarshan will be followed by broadcast in regional languages by regional channels of Doordarshan. AIR All India Radio will broadcast the regional language versions at 9:30 p.m. on its respective regional networks. The Government of India will celebrate the 75th year of India's independence in a grand manner at the national and international level. In the series, the centre on Friday unveiled the official logo to mark the momentous occasion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation from the ramparts of Red Fort tomorrow and lay out the government's programs and policies. The Prime Minister had directly invited ideas and suggestions from citizens for the Independence Day speech. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pick up some of the ideas in his speech. Well, as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav 2021 celebrations, Union Ministers Anurag Thakur, Mansukh Mandavia and Kiran Rijiju rode bicycles from the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium to Akbar Road during the Pedal for Health program in Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Thakur highlighted the paradigm shift in priorities of people centering around health. The minister also put forth the idea of fitness ka dose, Aadha Ghanta Roz. Anurag Thakur urged people to give at least half an hour a day to health performing any physical activity.
इससे अच्छा क्या हो सकता है कि हम 75वीं वर्षगांठ पर देश के लोगों को जागरूक करें और कहें पैडल फॉर हेल्थ, बिकॉज हेल्थ इज वेल्थ. एंड ड्यूरिंग द कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक, व्हेन द वर्ल्ड वाज फेसिंग दिस चैलेंज, we had to reimagine, reset our life. There are many things which have changed. Priorities have changed. The thought process has changed. आप किसी आम जनमानस से बात भी करेंगे जिसके लिए जीवन में पहले बहुत अलग अलग प्रायोरिटीज थी, आज उसके लिए भी अपनी सेहत ही प्रायोरिटी है. और इससे अच्छा क्या हो सकता है कि फिटनेस का डोज, आधा घंटा रोज.
Well, emphasizing on the relevance of cycling for good health, Union Minister Anurag Thakur said that cycling will not only help improve individual health, but ultimately contribute in slashing the load on hospitals.
आधा घंटा पैडल फॉर हेल्थ होगा, साइकिल चलाएंगे या पैदल भी चलेंगे, कोई भी एक्सरसाइज करेंगे, तब भी कहीं ना कहीं आप अपनी सेहत का भी ध्यान रखेंगे और उससे देश की सेहत पर भी फर्क पड़ता है. जितना अस्पताल पर बोझ कम पड़ेगा, उतना देश पर भी बोझ कम पड़ेगा. तो कहीं ना कहीं वो बोझ आपको पैडल पर डालना है ताकि आपको पैडल लगातार घूमता रहे, तो आपको एक लंबी आयु भी होगी.
Well, talking about the Sports Ministry's Fit India Freedom 2.0 run initiated on Friday, Union Minister Anurag Thakur said that the run will reach out to the youth across the country to ensure public awareness and participation.
हम देश के लगभग 744 जिलों में, हर जिले के 75 गांव में और 75 गांव के 75 युवा उसमें भागेंगे. तो आप कुल मिलाकर देखिए करोड़ों लोग इसमें भागीदार होंगे उस दौड़ में, क्योंकि दौड़ है फिट रखने के लिए, दौड़ है जागरूकता के लिए, दौड़ है जन भागीदारी करने के लिए. तो कहीं ना कहीं जन भागीदारी से जन आंदोलन बनते हैं, और चाहे वो रनिंग के लिए हो, फिटनेस की डोज के लिए हो, साइकिलिंग के लिए हो, सबका उद्देश्य एक है, जन भागीदारी से जन आंदोलन, अमृत महोत्सव मनाना, भारत को फिट इंडिया की मुहिम से जोड़ना. और इसीलिए कल भी फिट इंडिया फ्रीडम रन 2.0 लॉन्च किया गया, आज पैडल फॉर हेल्थ किया गया. तो मुझे लगता है इन कार्यक्रमों के माध्यम से जहां जागरूकता भी होगी, जन भागीदारी भी होगी और कहीं ना कहीं स्वस्थ भारत की नींव भी रखी जाएगी.
Well, on the occasion, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia urged every cyclist to encourage 10 persons to take up cycling. He said that the Health Ministry will make arrangements to promote cycling. He said that the health of the country would be good if the health of the citizens become good.
आजादी के 75 साल के अवसर पर सारे देश के साइकिलिस्ट ऐसा तय कर सकता है कि हम एक साइकिलिस्ट 10-10 लोगों को साइकिलिस्ट बनाएंगे, साइकिल के साथ जुड़ेंगे. दोस्तों, नेशन का काम है, एक करने जैसा काम है, और मैंने तो संकल्प लिया है कि मैं उसको मिनिस्ट्री के माध्यम से साइकिलिंग को हेल्थ के साथ जोड़ने वाला हूं. मिनिस्ट्री के माध्यम से मीन्स मिनिस्ट्री में भी एक वर्टिकल क्रिएट करके अर्बन मिनिस्ट्री, अर्बन डेवलपमेंट मिनिस्ट्री, हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री, स्पोर्ट्स मिनिस्ट्री, सब मिनिस्ट्री साथ में मिलकर साइकिलिंग को कैसे प्रोत्साहित करें.
Well, Union Minister Kiran Rijiju said that the popularity of cycling is increasing. He said that cycling has been given priority in the Sports Authority of India, and the Union Minister expressed hope that the country can bring medals in cycling in the Olympics.
Cycling is a way of life, pedaling for the future. Pedal for health ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, और जो हमने कई जगह में जो अर्बन डेवलपमेंट का प्लानिंग होता है उसमें साइकिलिंग का ट्रैक, साइकिलिंग का लेन, ये जो धीरे धीरे जो आ रहे हैं, ये बहुत अच्छा ट्रेंड है. साइकिलिंग को प्रायोरिटी स्पोर्ट्स में लाया, पहले साइकिल जो है, साइकिलिंग जो स्पोर्ट्स है, ये अदर स्पोर्ट्स कैटेगरी में आते थे। तो हमने कहा कि यार इतना बड़ा देश में इतने लोग साइकिलिंग करते हैं, ये ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, कभी हम जरूर ओलंपिक तक जा सकते हैं, मेडल भी ला सकते हैं।
Meanwhile, Karnataka police organized a run for unity in Bengaluru this morning to celebrate the Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav. Well, with an aim to involve people in recalling the spirit of sacrifice and patriotism in the journey towards a new India, the celebrations for Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, marking 75 years of India's independence, comes up with series of innovative and synergistic programs drawn up by the media units of the Information and Broadcasting Ministry across the country through different modes and mediums. Let's take a look.
In order to ensure wide participation and awareness for the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav commemorating 75 years of Indian independence, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has curated a series of innovative programs to celebrate the Mahotsav under the overall spirit of Jan Bhagidari and Jan Andolan. One of the key aspects of the synergistic programming is to recall the contribution of freedom fighters, including the unsung heroes of the freedom struggle. All India Radio will be launching a unique innovative program, Azadi Ka Safar Akashwani Ke Saath, on national as well as regional channels from 16th August. The 5 minutes daily capsule based on eminent freedom fighters and giving an account of major historical and political events of the day will be aired at 8:20 AM in Hindi on DD News and 8:50 AM in English on DD India. Taking forward the spirit of Jan Bhagidari, All India Radio is also organizing national and regional Amrit Mahotsav theme quiz from 16th August 2021 in Hindi 8 AM to 8:30 AM and English 8:30 AM to 9 AM. National quiz program to be held bi-weekly on Monday and Tuesday, and regional quiz programs to be held by regional news units across the country. Doordarshan has packaged a set of films to highlight the spirit of patriotism and sacrifice. Films like Hindustani Ki Kasam and Tiranga to be showcased on 15th August 2021. Special series of sectoral programs on themes such as startups, defense, space and landmark legislations have also started broadcasting. Doordarshan to dedicate a full day of special coverage to Independence Day, including live telecasts from the Red Fort along with special shows. NFDC to also stream iconic films like Gandhi, Making of Mahatma, Ghore Baire on its OTT platform www.cinemasofindia.com from 15th to 17th August. During the same period, Films Division is also holding a 3-day film festival showcasing films on freedom fighters and Indian freedom struggle. Film festivals to be held in coordination with institutions across the country to reach out to a wider audience. Social media platforms of the ministry are also reaching out to the people through informative AV content by engaging youth and children, as well as inviting videos from internet users on various themes to be featured on its platforms. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, as part of the Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav celebrations, the Ministry of Tourism, in collaboration with the Association of Indian Universities, will launch a series of 12 episodes that will take the participants on a virtual journey of Incredible India. Each of the 12 episodes will focus on diverse themes regarding cultural heritage of India and to generate awareness about Incredible India. The event will be inaugurated by the Union Minister of Tourism, G. Kishan Reddy. In the journey of AKAM, the Ministry of Tourism is focusing on children and youth to get more acquainted with India's glorious past and a grand future. Well, Delhi Police has made elaborate security arrangements in the national capital in view of the 75th Independence Day. Special arrangements have been made in and around Red Fort, from where Prime Minister will address the nation For the convenience of public and security reasons, certain traffic restrictions have been imposed around the Red Fort. Only those vehicles with a valid pass issued by the Delhi Traffic Police will be permitted to around the Red Fort area tomorrow. Many roads will be closed from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the Independence Day. The parking facilities at Delhi metro stations will also remain closed till tomorrow afternoon. Well, an update now on the COVID-19 situation from across the country. 38,667 new cases being reported in the last 24 hours, while 35,743 patients have recovered in the same time frame. Over 38,000 recoveries have been reported across the country so far. With this, the recovery rate in India currently stands at 97.45%. India's active case load today stands at 3,87,673. Active cases now constitute only 1.21% of the country's total positive cases. With substantially ramped up testing capacity across the country, a total of 22,29,798 tests were conducted in the last 24 hours in the nation. Cumulatively, India has conducted over 49 crore 17 lakh tests so far. While on the one side, testing capacity has been enhanced across the country, a weekly positivity rate currently stands at 2.05% and the daily positivity rate stands at 1.73% today. Daily positivity rate has remained below 3% for the last 19 days. Well, Bharat Biotech's intranasal vaccine is the first nasal vaccine that has received the regulatory approval for phase 2 trials. This is the first of its kind COVID-19 jab to undergo human clinical trials in India. Phase 1 clinical trial has been completed in the age groups ranging from 18 to 60 years. The company reports that the doses of the vaccine administered to healthy volunteers in the phase 1 clinical trial has been well tolerated. No serious adverse events reported. Previously, the vaccine was found to be safe, immunogenic and well tolerated in the preclinical toxicity studies. The vaccine was able to elicit a high level of neutralizing antibodies in animal studies. Moving on, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia is to visit Kerala on August 16th. The next day, he will travel to Guwahati and hold a meeting there with the Chief Minister on the COVID-19 situation in the northeastern part of India. Kerala continues to contribute the maximum number of COVID-19 cases in the country. The state reported 20,452 cases for the third straight day in a row on Friday. Well, 4 more wetlands from India got recognition from the Ramsar Secretariat as Ramsar sites. These sites are Tol and Vadbana from Gujarat, Sultanpur and Bindabas from Haryana. Informing this in a tweet, Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav expressed happiness and stated that it is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's special concern for the environment which has led to an overall improvement in how India cares for its wetlands. With this, the number of Ramsar sites in India are 46 and the surface area covered by these sites is now around 10.83 lakh hectares. While Haryana gets its first Ramsar sites, Gujarat gets 3 more after Nal Sarovar, which was declared in 2012. The aim of the Ramsar list is to develop and maintain an international network of wetlands which are important for the conservation of global biological diversity and for sustaining human life through the maintenance of the ecosystem components, processes and benefits. Wetlands provide a wide range of important resources and ecosystem services such as food, water, fiber, groundwater recharge, water purification, flood moderation, erosion control and climate regulation. They are in fact at a major source of water, and our main supply of fresh water comes from an array of wetlands which help soak rainfall and recharge groundwater. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has notified that the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2021, which prohibits identified single-use plastic items which have low utility and high littering potential by 2022. The manufacture, import, stocking, distribution, sale and use the following single-use plastic, including polystyrene and extended polystyrene commodities, shall be prohibited with effect from the 1st of July next year. In order to stop littering due to lightweight plastic carry bags with effect from 30th of September 2021, the thickness of plastic carry bags has been increased from 50 microns to 75 microns and to 125 microns with effect from the 31st of December 2022. This will also allow reuse of plastic carry due to the increase in thickness. The Himachal Pradesh government is on alert now following repeated incidents of landslides from across the state. Well, after landslide incidents were reported from Kinnaur, Chamba and Sirmaur, suddenly a part of the Pir Panjal hill collapsed and fell into the Chandrabhagya river on Friday. Scientists of the Central Water Commission are reaching Lahore to get to the bottom of the reasons behind such natural calamities. Whereas scientists of DRDO's Defense Geoinformatics Research Establishment have already reached Lahore on Friday to find out reasons behind the landslides. These scientists will research on the topography and other geological aspects of the area with the help of geoinformatics equipment. The study will help in dealing with such natural calamities in the future. Apart from Lahore, the team of scientists will also conduct similar studies in Kinnaur, Mandi and Chamba. State's Chief Secretary said that the scientists would also study the mountains of Greater Himalaya along with the Pir Panjal range, which extends for several kilometers along the banks of the Chandrabhagya river. Scientists will gather information about the geological movement. At the same time, scientists of the Central Water Commission will conduct a comparative study on the water level in the river for the last several years, besides studying impact of flow of the Chandrabhagya river at the foothills of the mountains. Meanwhile, so far 19 bodies have been recovered in Kinnaur landslide incident, while search operation is still underway to locate the 10 missing persons. Chandrabhagya river is now flowing normally. Still, over 2,000 people living on the banks are being shifted to safer places. Currently, monsoon continues to cause havoc in parts of Himachal Pradesh with almost all rivers in spate. Authorities have appealed to everyone not to go near rivers and avoid visiting difficult terrains. In Uttar Pradesh, flood situation continues to remain grim with 24 districts of the state under its grip and several rivers in spate. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath on Friday visited Ghazipur and Balia districts. In Balia, 1.5 lakh villages of 34 villages have been affected due to floods in Saryu, Ton and Ganga river. The Chief Minister directed the officials of Ghazipur and Balia districts to speed up the relief and rescue operations. In Bihar, flood situation has further deteriorated in 15 districts including Patna, Buxar, Munger, Bhojpur and Bhagalpur. Surging waters of Ganga have entered in urban areas of Patna, Bhagalpur and Munger situated near the river bank. Water levels of Ganga crossed the highest flood level of 43.17 meters at Hatida in Patna and reached 43.21 meters. All gates of Farakka barrage remain open for the accelerated discharge of water. Over 25 lakh people are reeling under the impact of floods. Over 1,300 villages spread over 495 panchayats are inundated. 1,40,000 people have been shifted to safer places. Standing crops spread over 70 lakh hectares have been damaged. Vehicular traffic has been disrupted in several places and parts of the state as floodwaters are flowing on roads. 26 teams of NDRF and SDRF are carrying out relief and rescue operations. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar visited the flood-affected areas alongside the Ganga and Sone in Patna, Bhojpur and Saran districts to take stock of the situation. He instructed officials to assess the damage caused by the floodwaters in different districts. In Jammu and Kashmir, security forces recovered a huge cache of arms and ammunition from a hideout busted in Tanta forest of Karhara Tehsil in Doda district. The hideout was busted by a joint team of SOG and security forces during a cordon and search operation launched in the area. The huge cache of arms and ammunition include one pistol, one 12-bore rifle, 2 country-made handguns, 5 grenades and 5 explosive and other documents. Well, moving on now to international stories, the Taliban has captured new territories in Afghanistan on what seems like a daily basis. Caught in the middle is a terrified population. Tens of thousands of ordinary Afghans have had to flee their homes. Hundreds have been killed or injured in recent weeks. On Friday, insurgents captured Pul-e-Alam, a capital of Logar province, just 80 kilometers from the capital Kabul. On Friday, militants also seized the country's second largest city, Kandahar, and the nearby city of Lashkar-Gah, as well as Herat in the west. They now control about a third of Afghanistan's provincial capitals. More than 250,000 people have been forced to leave their homes so far, while over 1,000 civilians were killed in Afghanistan in the past month alone, according to the UN. In a separate development, Canada is planning to resettle more than 20,000 vulnerable Afghans, including women leaders, human rights workers and reporters. It covers both who want to leave Afghanistan and those already in neighboring countries. The effort is in addition to an earlier initiative to welcome thousands of Afghans for the Canadian government, such as interpreters, embassy workers and their families. North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO members along with the European Union and the United Nations on Friday confirmed that they will not recognize any government in Afghanistan imposed through armed forces. NATO allies met in the North Atlantic Council on Friday to consult on the situation in Afghanistan. Later, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said that NATO allies are deeply concerned about the high levels of violence caused by the Taliban's offensive, including attacks on civilians, targeted killings, and reports of other serious human rights abuses. The Taliban needs to understand that they will not be recognized by the international community if they take the country by force. He said, NATO allies' aim remains to support the Afghan government and security forces as much as possible. NATO remains committed to supporting a political solution to the conflict. NATO will maintain its diplomatic presence in Kabul and continue to adjust as necessary. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on the Taliban to immediately halt their offensive in Afghanistan and warned that Afghanistan is spinning out of control. He also said he was deeply disturbed by the early indications that the Taliban are imposing several restrictions or severe restrictions on human rights in the areas under their control, particularly targeting women and journalists. Guterres called on all parties to do more to protect civilians.
I call on all parties to take heed of the conflict's heavy toll and its devastating impact on civilians. They all must do more to protect civilians. I remind all parties of their legal and moral obligation to take all measures to protect civilians. Directing attacks against civilians is a serious violation of international humanitarian law and amounts to a war crime. Perpetrators must be held accountable. I'm also deeply disturbed by early indications that the Taliban are imposing severe restrictions on human rights in the areas under their control, particularly targeting women and journalists.
The UN chief expressed hope that the discussions in Doha between Afghanistan and Taliban representatives will restore the best way to a negotiated settlement to the conflict.
I hope that discussions in Doha, Qatar, between representatives of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and the Taliban, supported by the region and the wider international community, will restore the pathway to a negotiated settlement to the conflict. Only an Afghan-led negotiated political settlement can ensure peace. The United Nations is determined to contribute to such a settlement, promote the rights of all Afghans, and provide life-saving humanitarian help to the ever-increasing numbers of civilians in need.
The UN Secretary General spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric said that the United Nations is evaluating the security situation in Afghanistan on an hour-by-hour basis, but is not evacuating any staff from the country. He said the world body had a very light footprint in areas taken by the Taliban and was relocating some staff to Kabul from other parts of the country.
We're evaluating literally on hour-by-hour basis the security situation both in Kabul and in other locations. There is no evacuation of UN staff going on. We're obviously assessing different places where to lighten the footprint. But we're continuing, as I mentioned, you know, as I said just now, we're in a number of places, notably in Kabul, we're continuing to deliver the aid that we can.
Well, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that he will not envisage a military solution for Afghanistan, but would continue to exert pressure by diplomatic means. Boris Johnson's comments come as Britain's defense minister said that Afghanistan is spiraling into a failed state and a civil war in which militant groups such as Al-Qaeda will thrive and likely pose a threat again to the West.
I think we've got to be realistic about the abilities of the UK or any power to impose a military solution, a combat solution in Afghanistan. What we certainly can do is work with all our partners in the region and around the world who share an interest in, with us in preventing Afghanistan from once again becoming a breeding ground for terror. And I think anybody in government in Kabul is going to recognise that the West, the UK, have a permanent interest in making sure that that does not happen. And so we are going to use our diplomatic, our political, our overseas development aid budget leverage to make sure that we exert what pressure we can. And we will continue to do that. But I think the idea of a military or a combat solution is not the one that we should be pursuing right now.
Well, US Defense Department meanwhile said that Kabul is not an imminent threat environment right now. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby, however, said that the Biden administration is concerned by the speed of the Taliban advance. The Pentagon had earlier said it would send about 3,000 extra troops by this weekend to help evacuate US embassy staff. Well, time now for us to slip into a short breather here on the news on the hour. Lots more lined up from the world of international news, as well as taking a look at sports and other features. Stay tuned with News on the Hour.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Indu ni hao.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
نحن هنود India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Hindian.
सलाम हिंदुस्तान.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east.
For technical details, scan here.
Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Let's now take a look at COVID-19 updates from across the world on how the numbers are. The virus has infected over 20 crore 69 lakh people worldwide. The total number of recoveries, when one looks at 18 crore 55 lakh. Total deaths now slowly at 43 lakhs 57,000. United States continues to be the worst affected by the disease, both in terms of infections as well as fatalities. In terms of infections, it's over 3 crore 73 lakhs. In terms of deaths being reported in the United States of America, now over 6 lakh 37,000. As COVID-19 pandemic ravages across the United States, situation seems tense in Tennessee. An official has warned that the emergency services are overwhelmed and getting an ambulance quickly in case of emergency may not be easy. Low vaccination rates and the more infectious Delta variant of the COVID-19 have steered COVID-19 cases in the country to rise up. Meanwhile, in US's Mississippi, health authorities scramble to save lives from COVID-19 pandemic as the situation remains dire. As hospitals are flooded with COVID-19 patients, a field hospital has been set up in New York Central Park and a medical ship was moved in the Hudson River. The University of Mississippi Medical Center has opened up this 20-bed field hospital in its parking garage. The number of daily COVID-19 cases across the United States has doubled in the last 2 weeks, reaching its 6-month peak, while the average number of daily deaths have increased 85% in the last 14 days. Well, Bangladesh government's COVID-19 registration software Suroka came under cyber attack recently. Bangladesh's State Minister for ICT Zunaid Ahmed Palak said that the cyber attacks are being mounted from a country to shut down Suroka app. Meanwhile, the minister said that the attack was thwarted by the software engineers of the government. The attack was noticed when people were unable to register on the app for some time after the government announced a mass vaccination program from the 7th of August. It was shut down for a while for recovery and maintenance. Well, as French government gears up tougher health pass checks from August 16th, France was seen lined up to get the COVID-19 vaccine jab. Citizens have been required to show the pass in public places, proving that they have been vaccinated or have recently been tested negative for COVID-19. The country has registered more than 64,25,000 cases of COVID-19, with fatalities crossing 1,12,000. Moving to sports, chasing India's first innings score of 364 runs, England at stumps got to 119 for the loss of 3 wickets on the second day of the Lord's Test. Joe Root once again looked solid, but his unbeaten 48 run along with Root openers Rory Barnes played a crucial 49-run knock at the top. For India, Siraj claimed 2 wickets, while Mohammad Shami also got a wicket to his name in the final session. Earlier, KL Rahul's impressive 129 and Rohit Sharma's gusty 83 knock helped India score 364. For the host, James Anderson took 5 wickets, while Ollie Robinson and Mark Wood bagged 2 wickets apiece. The first test between India and England had ended in a draw. There are 5 test matches in this test series. President Ramnath Kovind will host the Indian contingent of the Tokyo Olympics 2020 over a high tea today at the Rashtrapati Bhavan Cultural Centre. India has won 7 medals in the Tokyo Olympics, including a historic gold in athletics by javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra. Apart from Chopra's gold, India won 2 silver medals and 4 bronze medals at Tokyo Olympics. Well, Katie Lechke, an Olympic champion, takes a victory lap at the New York's Empire State Building after etching yet another history in the event of swimming. Take a look at this next report to know about more about this swimming legend.
Back from Japan, the swimming world's most decorated woman, Katie Ledecky, took a victory lap at New York's Empire State Building. Ledecky had 2 gold and 2 silver medals draped around her neck from her wins at the Tokyo Olympics. Ledecky has won 15 world titles and 7 Olympic golds, beating the record for the most women's individual Olympic swimming titles held for a quarter of a century by Hungary's Kristina Agarakski.
I was very happy. I'm still very happy and just trying to let it all sink in. And I don't know if even the 2012 Olympics that I competed in, if that has even sunk in fully yet. So I'm just enjoying this. I was very happy with each of my medal swims.
The American dominated the 800 meters freestyle final in Tokyo to win gold comfortably, facing Australia's Ariarne Tethmas, winner of gold medals in the 200 meter and 400 meter freestyle this week in thrilling late 5 packs. Ledecky took no chances on Saturday and led from the start, opening up a body length lead after 500 meters.
I understand there are expectations and people want me to perform well, which is great. I want to perform well too, so I just tried to stay focused on my own goals.
Ledecky edged further ahead at every turn, shutting down any chance of a late charge from Tethmas and finishing over a second ahead in 8 minutes 12.57 seconds. The two have developed a rivalry known as the duel in the pool.
I think it brings out the best in each of us, each of my competitors, myself. There's so many great competitors from around the world, and it was great to finally have the opportunity to race each other.
She also said her sights were on the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and at just 24 years, she isn't ready to rule out the Los Angeles Games 4 years after that, and she said the ongoing pandemic was no obstacle. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, news just coming in memory of the struggles and sacrifices of our people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that 14th August, that's today, will be observed as Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. In a series of tweets, he said partition pains can never be forgotten. Millions of our sisters and brothers were displaced and many lost their lives due to mindless hate and violence. May the hashtag Partition Horrors Remembrance Day keep reminding us of the need to remove the poison of social divisions, disharmony, and further strengthen the spirit of oneness, social harmony, and human empowerment. Well, clearly the Prime Minister here setting the tone, especially when it comes to this particular day and the significance of this particular day, calling it an important event, especially from the memories when one looks at it purely in terms of the Prime Minister clearly indicating that this particular day needs to be remembered. It needs to be remembered in many ways, especially when it comes to the countless sacrifices that people have made, especially in the freedom struggle. And may this particular day, let's once again take a look at that particular tweet. The partition pains can never be forgotten. Millions of people, millions of brothers and sisters were displaced and many lost their lives due to the mindless hate and violence that took place during that particular time. In memory of the struggles especially and sacrifices of our people, 14th August will now be observed as Partition Horrors Day. It's a terrifying moment. The horrors of participation of 1947 will always be a terrifying blood-stained blot in the legacy of the freedom of India. You know, roughly around 15 million people got displaced from their homes in that particular struggle, especially when it comes to the horrors of partition that took place on that particular eventful night. Well, in addition to the loss of human lives and property, the near fatal blows of culture actually mark the partition's distinctively features. The partition of the subcontinent of India is one of the 10 biggest tragedies that's been recorded in human history. You know, it is not about the loss of human lives and property, but the near fatal blows of culture that one saw, especially when this partition took place. People were uprooted, leaving an improvised culture behind them. Of all the provinces of all, Punjab suffered the most. The massacre that preceded and followed partition, along with that of India, nobody anticipated it, but surely a shocker. And the Prime Minister, they're clearly tweeting about it. The Prime Minister said that may the Partition Horror Remembrance Day keep reminding us of the need to remove the poison of social divisions, disharmony, and further strengthen the spirit of oneness, social harmony, and human empowerment. The Prime Minister tweeting about the same in English and Hindi, they are clearly indicating that this particular day is important, and it keeps reminding us especially of the horrors that one underwent when it comes to partition. Well, when one looks at it, how exactly partition took place and what were the horrors of partition. There are many stories that one hears, but then the Prime Minister clearly indicating that this particular that eventful evening of that partition of India, which took place in 1947, was the partition of two different states, one of India and one of Pakistan. And the partition is an important event in Indian history, and it was clearly carried out as it's also known as the Mountbatten Plan. It was announced at a press conference on the 3rd of June 1947, that when the day of independence, that 15th of August 1947 was announced, that India would be independent on the 15th of August, and we've got our correspondent there waiting by to give us the latest, especially when it comes to this particular Prime Minister indicating and highlighting this day of August 14th as an important landmark in Indian history. We've got Arun Sharma, correspondent, joining us. Arun, the partition can never be forgotten, but the Prime Minister laying more significance on the day of 14th of August and the horrors that are attached, especially when it comes to partition and the legacy that it brought about.
Absolutely, Anil. So today Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly tweeted this point that, the partition horrors primarily keep reminding us of the need to remove the poison of social division. True. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has often talked about Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. He has often said that Rang Anek, Tiranga Ek. That means there can be different colors, but Tiranga, that means national flag, is one. Now, we have already faced this social division and family partition way back, 75 years ago. But now, this poison of social division, disharmony, primarily this ensures that how society and nation primarily the prosperity deteriorates. But now the focus of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is clearly on the fact that how can we strengthen the spirit of oneness, we can ensure there is social harmony in our country, and we can ensure human empowerment. Because the fact is that if in case India wants to become New India, if we have to move in the direction of New India, we have to ensure that there is no social divisions on the basis of caste, creed and culture. And of course, there has to be oneness. Because until and unless we're talking about Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat, until and unless we're talking about, that there can be various caste, culture and creed and various sections of the society. But at the end, what matters is that we are Indians and we belong to India. So that is a clear message from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And, Prime Minister also tweeted the fact that partitions, pains can never be forgotten. Now, but the point is that, Anil, that we have to learn lessons from that pain. And we notice that millions of our sisters and brothers, that is millions of Indians primarily, were displaced and many lost their lives. And many also lost their relatives, their loved ones primarily during the partition time. But in memory of the struggles and sacrifices of our people, 14th of August will be observed as Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. So it's a big announcement, because this day will ensure that we do not forget the pain from the partition, but we move towards in the direction of, oneness. We move in the direction of social harmony. We're moving in the direction of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. We're moving in the direction of New India. And New India ensures that there is no clashes, there is no division in our society. So that is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi wants to ensure. And that's the reason, big announcement from Prime Minister Narendra Modi that 14th of August will be observed as Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. India, of course, family cannot forget those days of 14th of August when partition took place. Millions of people were displaced. Millions of people lost their loved ones during the partition time. But yes, now we have to take lessons from that day, and we have to ensure that there has to be social unity in our culture. There has to be unity amongst us, and with the oneness, with primarily unity, we can only move in the direction of progress and development. Anil?
Okay, considering that 14th August is now Partition Horror Remembrance Day, do you somewhere feel, especially when we are remembering the horrors of partition, there is also a need to build a national memorial, especially for the victims of partition?
Absolutely. So there is also need for various other things. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ensured that all those who sacrificed their life, be it police memorial, be it the memorial of various freedom fighters of our country who led their lives during the struggle of the freedom movement. There are various monuments and various events are being organized by the government. Government is ensuring that how can young generation, youngsters of our country can learn lessons from the lives of the freedom fighters and all those who led their lives for the sake of our country, for the freedom struggle of our country. And there is a need for the memorial, yes, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ensured that. At the Red Fort, there is a museum dedicated to Subhash Chandra Bose. We have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's Statue of Unity in Kevadia. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi is ensuring that how can freedom fighters of our country, all those who lost their lives and sacrificed their lives, how can youngsters can take lessons from them? That's number one. Number two, not only on national level but on international level also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is ensuring that how can we focus on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means entire world is one family. So we have to focus on Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. We have to ensure that how can we move in the direction of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means entire world is one family. And also, how can we ensure that in country like India, where there are diverse culture, there are people from various caste, culture, various sections of the society, how can we move in a direction whereby there is oneness in nature? How can we talk about India? How can India first be ensured? How can India move in a direction whereby prosperity, peace and progress is ensured? So yes, if in case there are coordinated efforts, if in case primarily there is oneness in our country, despite being the diversity, we can ensure that India moves in the direction of prosperity, and that will be the true tribute to Amrit Mahotsav that we are celebrating now.
Okay. Also the fact that, when we acknowledge this truth, it's also the first step towards healing.
Hello?
Hello, Arun, I said, when we are acknowledging this particular truth, it's also the first step towards healing.
Absolutely. So how can India heal from the pains that we have faced, 75 years ago? The true healing, the true tribute primarily can be that, we move in the direction of progress and development. So that is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi is focusing upon. You heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking on various multilateral forums, on various international platforms, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is talking about how can we ensure Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. How can we counter terrorism on international platform? How can there be coordinated efforts so that no country primarily faces such kind of conflict, such kind of, whatever India faced on 14th of August 75 years ago, no country should face that issues as far as conflicts are concerned, as far as disharmony is concerned, as far as, splits or partitions are concerned. So how can there be oneness? How can be everybody's feelings can be, given priority? How can primarily countries focus on developmental aspects? And how can there be, job creation taking place? How can humanitarian angle be kept in mind before drafting the policies? by various governments all across the world, and not only in India but all across the world primarily. And same thing Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saying it here. So it's a big decision by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Until and unless we observe the Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, until and unless Indians realize that what kind of pain did the Indians went through 75 years ago, when a lot of people were displaced, a lot of lives were sacrificed, we won't be in a position to unite. So in order to unite Indians, in order to unite various cultures of our country, in order to unite various people from various castes, sections, society of our country, it is very much important to understand the pain what we went through 75 years ago.
Okay.
It is 75 years ago with various movements like Quit India movement and various other freedom struggle and various other movements started by various freedom fighters of our country. We could get freedom for our country. And now we don't have to lay our life for our country. We don't have to lay down our life for our country. We have to live for our country.
True.
We have to live and ensure that how can new India be ensured. And for ensuring new India, it is very much important that Indians come together, keeping aside their differences, caste, culture, and each and every thing that dissects them, that splits them. And that's the reason this day, a big announcement by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of observing 14th of August as a Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. So it's a big decision from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's side.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us. 14th of August, Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. Clearly a day when humanity hung its head in shame, considering the amount of people that lost their lives, the amount of people that got displaced in the chaos that followed. Well, that's it in this edition of News on the Hour from me and my entire team. Remember that fight against COVID-19 continues, so please follow those basic 3 examples: SMS, sanitize yourself, mask yourself, maintaining social distance, also getting yourself vaccinated. Don't consider the weekend to be a time to sit back and relax, but look at an opportunity where you can go along with your friend and loved one and get yourself vaccinated. Remember, if you and I get vaccinated, we all stand a better chance to see a better tomorrow. That's it. Bye-bye. Take care.